Here in session 79, we're going to discuss and demonstrate how to solve problems that include complex fractions. Simply put, a complex fraction is a fraction that has one or more fractions in either its numerator or its denominator or both. Here we have a problem, 3 plus 1/6. This is the entire numerator divided by 2 plus 2/3. The 2 plus 2/3 is our entire denominator. And as you can see, 1/6 is a fraction that's part of our numerator, and 2/3 is a fraction that's part of our denominator. So how do we go about solving these types of fractions? Well, the first thing that we want to do is to combine these together. 3 plus 1/6. So let's go ahead, I'm going to rewrite that here. 3 plus 1/6. Now, how do we add a fraction to a whole number so that we get a fraction as an answer? Well, we make a fraction out of our whole number by placing a 1 under it. 3 over 1 plus 1 over 6. Now what we have to do is get both of these fractions having the same denominator. 6 is going to be that common denominator. So what we have to do now is come over here to our 3 over 1 and multiply both the top and bottom by 6. So what is 3 times 6? Well, that's 18. That's our numerator. Our denominator is 6 times 1, which is 6. So 3 over 1 has now been rewritten as 18 over 6. And what do we need to add to it? We need to add to it that 1/6. So what we've done now is we've rewritten 3 plus 1/6. That's been rewritten now as 18 over 6 plus 1 over 6, which when you combine them together is 19 over 6. Let's come and do the same thing now with our denominator. That's going to be 2 over 1 for this, plus the 2 over 3. We now need to get the common denominator, which is going to be 3. So we're going to multiply 3 times 2 over 1, 3 times the 2, and then 3 times the 1. That'll give us 6 over 3, plus the 2 over 3. We now have the same denominator, so we can combine them together. 6 over 3 plus 2 over 3 is 8 over 3. So what we've done now is we have rewritten 2 plus 2 over 3 as 8 over 3. Well, let's go back now and rewrite this problem. Instead of 3 plus 1 over 6, we're going to write 19 over 6. This fraction bar represents our division sign. And in place of 2 plus 2 over 3, we're going to write 8 over 3. So now our problem is 19 over 6 divided by 8 over 3. This is now much simpler to solve. We're going to rewrite our 19 over 6. We're going to leave our first fraction alone. We are going to, since we're dividing by fractions, we're going to write the reciprocal of 8/3, which is 3 over 8. And we're going to change our division to a multiplication. Because remember, to divide by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by that fraction's reciprocal. This 3 and that 6 cancel. That leaves us with 1 and 2. And we now simply multiply out. 19 times 1 is 19. That's our numerator. Our denominator is 2 times 8, which is 16. 3 plus 1 over 6 divided by 2 plus 2 over 3 is the same thing as 19 over 16. Now we're going to take it one step further to include algebraic fractions, complex fractions, where we have a variable that's included in a fraction that's within either our numerator or our denominator. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. First thing we need to do is take a look at our denominator, which is the complex part of the fraction. We have a fraction within our denominator. We actually have two fractions within our denominator. We need to combine these together, but we don't have a common denominator for these two fractions that are in our bigger denominator. So we have to rewrite these with common denominators. So to avoid confusion, I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite the top part here, x squared minus 64. Then in our bottom here, We're going to take this x and multiply it by both top and bottom to get our common denominator. X times 1 is x. X times 4 is 4x. 1 over 4 is the same thing as x over 4x, so we've just rewritten it as an equivalent fraction. Now over here for our 2 over x, we're going to take our denominator here of 4 and multiply it by the top and bottom. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times x is 4x. We now have the same denominator, so we can now combine these together. Once again, I'm going to rewrite my top, x squared minus 64. In the bottom, we have 4x, so we're going to have x minus 8 over 4x. Even though this doesn't look like we're closer, we really are. We still have a fraction in our denominator now. To start with, we had 2 fractions, but now we only have 1. So let's go ahead and rewrite this. We have x squared minus 64 in the top, and we're going to make a fraction out of that by placing a 1 in the denominator, and we're going to be dividing it by x minus 8 over 4x. Rewriting that, what we're going to do is have x squared minus 64 over 1, and we're going to change our division to a multiplication, and we are going to write the reciprocal of that second fraction, which is 4x over x minus 8. Now, x squared minus 64 is the difference of 2 squares. So that's going to be factored into x plus 8 times x minus 8. That'll be our numerator there. And we'll still have the 1 in the denominator. And that's going to be multiplied by 4x over x minus 8. We just rewrote that. This x minus 8 and that x minus 8 cancel. And we are now left with 4x times x plus 8. That is our answer in factored form. Okay then, quickly, a complex fraction is simply a fraction that has one or more fractions in its numerator and or its denominator. And a simple fraction is a fraction that does not have any fractions in its numerator or denominator. That finishes up session 79 on complex fractions.